Hi, my name is Jeff Carlson. This is going to be take two. I was asked to do an introduction and a quick discussion of my story Gunfight at the Sugarloaf Pet Food and Taxidermy for the good folks over at Starshipsofa. This is a story that originally ran in Asimov, so I was very excited about. I thought I would do a video clip at the same time I was recording their audio clip. So here we go. Watch this. Hi, my name is Jeff Carlson. I'm here today to talk about my story Gunfight at the Sugarloaf Pet Food and Taxidermy for the good folks over at Starshipsofa. This is one of my favorite stories. I actually don't say that about every story of mine. Not every story of mine is my favorite, but this one is one of my favorites because it's funny. It's funny and unique and weird. Nobody in the world has ever written a story like this story except for me, and that makes me happy. Gunfight at the Sugarloaf Pet Food and Taxidermy came from a time in my life when my wife and I don't think we were even married yet, came from a time in our lives that we didn't have kids yet. And we had so much time on our hands, we just didn't even know what to do with ourselves. We were both working full-time. We could still just come home in the evening, we'd watch a couple hours of TV. On the weekends we would sleep in. You know, we would go out to the movies, we could go out to dinner. I could just sit around all day on Sunday and watch football for like 10 hours straight, just drinking and eating nachos. It was awesome. And my point of all this, I do have a point, was that I also had a lot of time to just read. And I actually subscribed to magazines and I read the newspaper. And one of the things that I happened to read was an article about a taxidermist in Wisconsin who was using animatronic deer. They were, you know, stuffing and preserving real dead deer, and they were bestowing upon them a few lifelike properties where the dead deer could move its head back and forth or lift one paw or turn the head from side to side. And he was helping the wildlife fish and game department there catch poachers and out-of-season hunters. And what they would do is, set up a couple deer in a meadow and have the deer, doing their repetitive little motions so they look kind of like they were alive. And I guess guys would, come along out of season and, blow the heads off of these things. And I read this article and I thought, man, there has got to be a story there. And that was the first nugget there. And I give credit to the guy. He's mentioned in the story just as a Wisconsin taxidermist who originally came up with this concept. And so I came up with my cool superheroine, who was out of place. She's out of place in Montana. My story is set in Montana. I have family there, like second and third cousins. And I've been through Montana and spent some time at their houses and been camping there. Love the area. It's kind of out of the wilderness. It was like just a good, fun, outdoorsy place to set my little story. And of course, my heroine isn't just doing deer, of course, because I always got to just push it to the limit, right? And so she's using other animals too, and of course mayhem and chaos ensues. And I like this story. Gunfight was always one of my favorite stories because it's fun and it's funny. I think it would make a great action comedy film. I've even actually thought about trying to develop it into a novel, but sometimes the jokey stuff is a little hard to sustain that long into a full-length novel, whereas for a short story, bam. Sheila Williams over at Asimov's, the editor there at the magazine, has now asked me for another Julie Bouchain story. To which I said yes, absolutely, as soon as I have time for it. I'm working on my third novel right now, the third book in the Plague trilogy, and then I want to write the new Julie Bouchain story. I've had this concept worked out for a while. Recently ran into Sheila at Worldcon, and she said, hey Jeff, can you give me more of this stuff? And I'm like, I would love to. Anytime the editor says, hey, I would like another story, I'm like, hey, you bet. And so there will be the further adventures of Julie Bouchain, the wild super genius. It's not like a direct sequel by any means, but she just gets into more trouble and has more fun. So anyway, that's it. That's the whole deal. I don't want to talk too much more about the story for fear of giving too much away.